Welcome to this week's episode of 50 Shades and Grey with myself, Elliot Davidson. This week I was joined by a part 2 book club in a collaborative podcast we decided to do. Hope you enjoy it. Don't forget to subscribe and we'll see you soon.
Our first ever collaboration. It's not one but 2 podcasts today. This is very exciting. We have got the wonderful Elliot Davidson from 50 Shades and Grey joining us over here on Part 2 Book Club, and we're joining him on 50 Shades and Grey in a collaboration. Welcome, Elliot.
Thank you for having me, and welcome to you guys as well.
Yeah.
This is fun. This will be good.
So Elliot is probably very familiar to lots of you. He was on a little BAFTA-nominated show called My Mum, Your Dad. Congratulations on the nomination, by the way. That's pretty effing impressive.
Yeah, I didn't really have a lot to do with it, I'll be honest. It was just it was just good production.
But should we just do a 2-second intro to our 2 podcasts just for any listeners that aren't following the other? And if you aren't, make sure you're going and subscribing and following right now, guys. So we are Part 2 Book Club. We are 4 middle-aged women who have come together under the guise of a book club, but really we are a support group. We are all about the next chapter in both literature and in, of course, life, as we've all ticked over the big 4-0. We're staring down the barrel of lots of big changes, perimenopause, menopause, all of the above. So yeah, that's us. We are Zara, Alicia, Sarah, and Sean. We've been friends for 20 odd years. Some of us have been friends for 40 odd years. And that's us.
Okay, So 50 Shades of Grey, basically 50 Shades of Grey was born out of myself coming off of the show My Mum, Your Dad with my son, Zach, who's normally with me on my podcasts occasionally. And on my podcast, we look at midlife, basically, everything to do with midlife, in relationships, out of relationships, dealing with your kids growing up, changes that happen, like you guys have said, with menopause, and just for women dealing with that, and then coming out of relationships, going into new relationships and dealing with dating sites and dating and everything else that falls in between midlife. And a lot of nonsense as well that we talk on our podcast as well, which me and my son do very well together.
Yeah, I do. I think the nonsense is my favourite part. Okay. Awesome. Well, this is really exciting, so thank you so much to everyone listening from both podcasts. I might just kick off because you just mentioned dating. Like, how did the show come about? I'm just really curious.
So for me, it was from a friend of mine that I just recently did a podcast with, actually, Annabelle Jones. She called me and just said something that had come across her desk that she thought I might be interested in. And it was an application for My Mum, Your Dad, which I showed Zach, obviously, and we spoke about it. And we filled it in with thinking probably nothing will come of it. And we sent it off. And a couple of days later, the long process started of auditions and castings and Zoom calls. And yeah, it finally led to going on to the show.
How long was that process? I was about to ask the exact same thing.
We were very late to the party, I think. I think for some of the others, it was the same process, but spread out over a longer period. For myself and Zach, it probably was about 3-4 weeks, I guess.
Oh, that's not as long as I thought you were going to say, to be honest.
No, I think for some of the others, it was a lot longer, but I think ours was towards the end of casting period, so we were rushed through. So basically what it involves is you have casting agents that are around the country, so you'll either be approached by a casting agent or your application will go to a casting agent, and then the process starts with a phone call and then it goes to a Zoom call. and then it goes to another Zoom call, and then I think that Zoom call gets put in front of producers, and then you go up to ITV, and then for us, we sort of started in a room with one person, and then as the interview went on, more and more people joined. And by the time that we finished, there were 4 or 5 people in there, and with the actual 2 producers as well that got the BAFTA nomination. And and then you start we went to see psychologists, and we had a lot of medical exams as well, thorough medical investigations, and that was fun.
Really?
Wow.
Yeah. And so it is a long process. It's a long process, but it was exciting doing it, actually. It was really good.
And Elliot, can I ask, so I did watch it live, and I was very invested in the program, absolutely loved it. When you drive up to that house, or you drove up to the house with Zach, and then you go in and you see all these people, what were your initial reactions? And then secondly, obviously we know who you then hooked up with. Like, was there an instant reaction there, or was that very well edited? I don't know if I can ask that, because that's probably ruining.
Guys, ask what you want.
Yeah,
I'll be as honest as I can. Ask what you want. So it's quite unusual, actually, how it all works, and that I think for me that was the best part of the experience, was actually seeing a different industry at work. Because obviously I've always done the same job, so I've only ever been used to that scenario. So it was fascinating for me just seeing another industry at work. So we went to this car park, and there was loads of security, and it was in like it was like a sort of a stable area, I think. And then there was loads of cars there, and then our cars were all covered with blankets. So you literally can't see anything at all. It's like being taken hostage. And they've got all these cameras in the car as well. And the whole time, me and Zach are just giggling because it's just bizarre. And you're trying to sort of look at these towels, whether you're not allowed to. And there's like a chaperone that you have with you. And so you're in this sort of this your car, but like a holding area, while they do everyone's takes going actually into the house. So then it's your time to go. So you haven't seen anyone. So then they film you driving in. And then if that goes well, you do so the goodbye scene that I did with Zach, that was probably 3rd or 4th one, because you do that quite a few times. Yeah, no, and they do that from different angles, and they do it with everyone. Yeah. So it's great the way they produce it. It really is. But it is essentially acting without having a script and knowing what you're doing. You're just you don't realise it, but that's what you're doing. And so then we went in, and when I got there, I think there was Roger, Caroline. I think it may have only been Roger and Caroline now.
Love Roger.
Yeah, he's the guy. Literally, my son's only got back tonight from Jessie's birthday, so they were all down there this weekend. So which was great. They all got together. It was Jessie's 30th, so he saw Roger and Janie, and Caroline was there last night. Clayton was there. Yeah. So he saw a few of them last night, and all the kids were there as well, which is really good. So they're all really close. And then everyone sort of gradually comes in as you're waiting there, but it's quite bizarre because you're standing there with a camera crew to the left of you, and you've all got to stand in like an arc, so obviously the cameras can see you, but you can't actually see anyone. So it's like when you go out and I think most of you guys are all in relationships now, but I'm sure you can remember when you used to go out and you check people out in bars. You can do it quite subtly because no one's looking. It's very hard to check people out in a horseshoe shape because everyone can see you. So there was one scene where you could see me sort of leaning back trying to look. It doesn't look great, but I wasn't that attracted to anyone in the beginning at all. Because I think it's just a bit of a bizarre, surreal situation. So there was, I do think that the whole process of it is fascinating when you're in it, of how it's done. And I think it's the first time they've done that sort of show with older people. So I think it'll be very different this year. I think it'll be a lot better this year. I think it'll be far more entertaining. I don't think it'll be as wholesome just because of the that end bit where we found out the kids were watching. That was genuine surprise. We had no idea. So obviously they can't replicate that this time. So I think they'll make it far more entertaining in other ways. I think they'll sort of manipulate the situations to make entertainment. So I think in terms of that, it'll be far more entertaining, but probably maybe not as wholesome. I do hope so for the people in there. I hope they meet people, and I hope it works out for them.
Yeah, definitely. And just on the show, before we move on to other questions, did you go in thinking genuinely you might find someone, or was it more of a, I'm just going to do this for a laugh and see how it goes? But where was your mind at the time?
Yeah, I didn't think I'd ever meet anyone in there, I'll be honest. And from the conversations that I had with everyone going in, I think everyone else felt the same. And that was probably out of, it wasn't like I wasn't dating before I went in, and I wasn't meeting people generally before I went in anyway. It was more that I probably got to a stage in life where I was just bored. I was just really bored of just doing the same thing all of the time. And probably the situation I was in, it was, you know, although it was a couple of years after COVID, COVID left a bit of a hangover for everyone, I think. It took a while to get back into the routine of life. And for me, it was just an opportunity to do something that I'd never done. And most of all, to do it with Zach. That was the other driving factor, was just, it was great fun. I don't think I would have done it if it weren't with Zach. I can't see that I would have done it. Doing it with him was one of the reasons that I wanted to do it anyway.
That's cute.
I think COVID changed the whole dating scene. Actually, I think the dating sites done very well out of it, because that was the only way of actually meeting people. So it probably provided a service at the same time. But I know a lot of people went on to dating sites, and I think that's when it started to gain momentum for it to become more of a natural thing. Because I think there was always, not for the younger generation, but I think for sort of anyone past sort of 35, 40, there was always still a little bit of stigma attached to the dating sites, which I think is completely been eradicated now. I think it's general conversation. You know, how did you meet? Did you meet on a dating site?
Definitely. It seems to be more the norm now, more than meeting someone organically. I was talking to actually Sarah's cousin, his girlfriend. She was saying that they met via a dating site, saying that it's so weird if someone says they've met someone organically, like in real life now. He said it's just all her friends, everyone she knows, have met their partner via dating apps. And she was like, so when someone says, oh yeah, I met a guy at a bar, she's like, why? How? What? And it's just so bizarre. Like, as you say, there was such a big stigma, definitely when we were younger, about meeting someone on the internet. And now it's just completely normal.
Yeah, I think for, you know, I think for sort of my son's age group, so I forget which word they're called now. They're not millennials. He's 22, so they normally meet people through socials. That's how they tend to meet everyone. And that's what I've found since coming out of the show, is that, you know, there's far more opportunity to meet people that way than probably on dating sites. And I think that's like the new organic way of meeting people is on Instagram or on TikTok or wherever it may be.
But, okay, may I ask, when the news broke that you and Sharon broke up, did you not have just like tons of people? I'm not saying this to like, you know, big you up, but did you not have tons of people sliding into your DMs or whatever the kids say, like on Instagram? You've been like batting them off.
I had, I did. I had a couple, but I had a lot of nice messages as well. But Instagram's is great, but it's strange because people will message you because they know you, but you they forget that you don't know them.
You don't know them.
No, so it'd be like, we should meet because they know you, and you think, but I don't know who you are, and your profile picture is like a picture of a fish. I'm not saying that I don't want to, but
Take a pitch.
But who are you?
yeah, it may be going that way. I'll be perfectly honest.
7-year-old Donald from, Northumberland.
Oh, but also, do you not get lots of like friends in the local area now, or wherever you work, saying, "Oh, I know this so and so." That must be quite.
I think my
I don't
friends
know,
gave up on me quite a long time ago. I'll be honest. Yeah, and I tend to keep away from people that my friends know because it just makes situations. Yeah, it makes situations difficult if it doesn't work out because then you feel sort of slightly embarrassed and. Yeah, they may then find out things about you that you don't really want them to know as well. So I tend not to do that on my own doorstep. But yeah, no, I think there was more. It gave me more opportunities, let's say, which was really nice. And it's always good for your ego. Let's be honest. But at the same time, I was quite aware that it wasn't exactly real. A lot of it.
Yeah.
So you keep a balance to it, I think.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Is it different meeting women, women of our age, through the dating sites, socials, Instagram versus the younger? Like,
I think there's a different way of how the younger people respond on it, definitely. And that's because I think it's second nature to them. I think going back to what you said before, I think if you walked up to one of those, say, a younger girl in a bar in their 20s and started chatting to them, I think they'd be quite shocked now. Maybe that just message me. I'm over there. Can I just come and talk to you? It'd just be easier. So I think they navigate it in a different way, and I think they're used to it. I think that's the only difference, but. It's still basically all, pretty much all the same. I don't find any difference in women that are older or younger per se. I don't think, and I don't. If anything, it's probably younger women are sort of grown up, so they're used to it. Where the older women, it's like they've been let loose in a fun fair, and there's so many opportunities out there. They're into everything as well. So it's yeah, it swings around. I think it swings around. It just depends on the person. Yeah.
Do we classify as older women now then at 40?
Yes.
It's not. But no age feels old until you get to the 10 years after that. And that's the thing. I don't think you ever realise the age that you are and sort of enjoy it for what it is, because you always looking behind you rather than in front of you, So I think, God, 40 for me now. It was a while ago. So I'd love to be 40 again because you're still so young. But I think when I'm 60, I'll say that about being 50, and when I'm 70, I'll say about being 60. So, and then I'll be dead. And then that'll be that.
Just planning to die at 70 then? You've drawn a line in the sand?
No, I was going to 80. I was going up in increments and saying it. I'm hoping I'm going to get past 70.
Fingers crossed. And that is, so do we all of us do. And also in terms of the women then, like when you're dating now versus when you were younger, not about the women, but about your list or your ideal requirements. Your list. The list. There's always been a list.
The list hasn't changed, I don't think.
I think that's a question. Really?
Yeah, that's the question. We were wondering,
question.
Yeah, do you look for different sort of qualities in a partner now than possibly when you were younger?
No.
Was anticlimactic.
Well, moving on.
That's part of the call, let me tell you. I get that a lot. Yeah, I mean, but what? So, would yours though?
So,
In what way?
I haven't been single in a very long time, but I think my list would be quite different.
Okay, right. So
because we're probably a bit shallower when we were younger. I would say probably a bit shallower.
Yeah.
But you still want
Okay, so all right. Okay, so we'll test this theory. You four, okay. We'll take you back to whenever it might be, your 20s or whatever. You say you're going out, you're going into a bar. Okay. What's the first thing you all look for?
Look. No, everyone else, same. No.
I was just
Okay.
if it was a specific thing about that.
Okay.
Yeah, the physical attraction, right? Yeah.
Attraction. Okay. So I'll skip you forward to you all suddenly, hopefully not, but all become single next year. You all go out, walk into a bar. What's the first thing you're going to be looking for?
Really good personality, Elliot.
No.
I think maybe the other way to phrase that question is less, because you're right, you're 100% right, Elliot. Like, of course we go out and look, and it's physical attraction and it's all of that stuff. Maybe the other way to phrase that question is what are the turn offs? Like, what are the things now? Because I know that's definitely changed. Like my list of
No's
is probably different to what it was when I was younger, which was a very short list, if I'm honest, if there was physics stuff.
I've got one thing and it's a tick. Yeah, but I think that's, for me, I think that's based on experience. And that's the difference. You don't have experience when you're young. When you're 23, 24, or whatever it may be, you don't know what you don't want. You just know that you want something. And that's why it's so easy to date when you're younger, because you haven't got all these, well, I know I don't like that. And I've been with someone who's done this, and I was with a girl that did that, or I was with a guy. So by the time you get older, you've already got a predetermined list of things that you know that you're not going to like. So that's what the difference is. It's not that your agenda changes. It's just that you're more experienced because you know how to do things better. Well, I say you know how to things. You should know how to do things better. It doesn't always go that way because you just find new things you don't like.
What are your X factor no?
I think it's probably things that I know that I like. So I like a sense of humour. I like someone who's, obviously guys are very visual. So you're attracted to a certain type of look. Everyone is different in what they go for. But I think that's the first thing for me is physical attraction. And then after that, it's sense of humour, someone who's low maintenance really and not dramatic about absolutely everything. Mostly someone that just puts up with me. I think that's probably the biggest thing because, I'm a lot to put up with. I guess those things really, not necessarily something. There's certain things like I'm attracted to people that are physically active, I think. It's not a sort of a massive stipulation, but the women that I've met before that are sort of physically active, it tends to work better because you have things in common, I guess. But definitely a sense of humour, someone that can have a conversation where I'm not feel like I'm leading the conversation all of the time. I guess so. But it's also different. It's really interesting actually, because talking to you guys is like talking to my friends. So when I talk to them about the collection of dating was in the 20s. So they have this like preconceived idea of what dating was then. And then they're like, well, why didn't you meet someone? And it's like, because you're where we are now, you don't realise it's so different and it's so much harder.
Sorry, though.
I think when you're in your 20s and even in your early 30s, dating and meeting someone is almost like a hobby. Like, I don't know how to, you dedicate time to it, you put the effort in and all that kind of stuff. I think now I look at my life as a single woman, and I'm like, I haven't got the time. It's so hard now, and this was a question I had for you as well, which is you're obviously a single dad, you've got your son. I know he's a lot older than my daughter, but how does that change as well? Like how do you, and I'm asking for a friend, how does that whole, having a child and all that takes, right? Like the all-consuming, parenthood, and then having to start from scratch, trying to find love and a relationship and all the effort and time that needs as well to be nurtured. How have you found that?
I think so. When I split up with Zach's mother, I guess Zach was about 5, I think, at the time. Yeah, 5 or 6. So that's difficult to negotiate because then you've got someone else's feelings as well that you're sort of you're not trying to protect as such, but you don't want to make the situation worse or by bringing someone else into it. So that bit is difficult. And then when you do meet people, you don't want to be introducing your son to people anyway, or your daughter, but unless it's going to be any longevity in it. But at the same time, you've got no idea if there's ever going to be longevity to anything because nothing is guaranteed. So at some stage when you feel it's right, they need to meet you, but it makes it very difficult. I probably lost 2 or 3 good relationships because I put Zach first. Went back in time, I would do exactly the same again, because that's what you do. But at the same time, it's very difficult for the other person to understand that. But it's also at the same time, they were probably right in the decisions they made because they shouldn't have to put up with that either. It's everyone's feelings are sort of from their own point of view. So it does complicate it, but you have to sort of, it's like risk and reward sometimes, isn't it? You take a chance on things that you think may go somewhere, and if they don't, they don't. It is one of those things, really.
And now that Zach's a lot older, how much do you kind of rely on him in a way to screen, approve, give you be a sort of a good sounding board for any women that you introduce him to and potentially enter into a relationship with? He's like a really smart kid, he's not even a kid, smart man.
He seems lovely.
He does seem lovely, and obviously your relationship, it's great, you can see it from the show and from your conversations on Instagram. Clearly he really matters to you. So, but then when it comes to your own relationship, are there boundaries? So even if he said, "Oh, I'm not sure about her," would you still go, "Well, it's my life, mate"?
Yeah, I think the sort of the relationship though progressed to that stage of past where you can. I always use the example of you can't tell them they can't swear anymore. That's always a stuff, and I don't think any of your kids are at that age yet, are they? Because that's a weird one. There's certain landmarks. It's like when they stop calling you daddy and call you dad. That's one where that hurts a little bit. Or where they call you mum. Yeah. So for you guys, it'd be mummy to mum. That one's always a bit, that makes me sound a bit older straight away. And then
with me, it's awful.
No.
I know.
Yeah. And then there's the swearing one's quite funny because you sort of spend your life sort of saying, "But you can't say that, you can't say that," and then they get to the age where you realise you can't tell them anymore, but it still doesn't sound right when you hear them swearing. You think, So we've got that sort of relationship. He's probably my best friend anyway. We spend a lot of time together. We talk about everything. So we're very similar but different enough to be honest with each other, which I think is good. So he'll tell me if he thinks I'm out of line, and vice versa. I'll sort of say to him, like, I don't think you're quite right there. If there's other situation, and he's also at the age where he can meet people now because you can't do that when the kids are younger. You can't. Yeah. They can't meet everyone that you meet because you have to be selective. Where when they get older, it's just people they're meeting because they get it. It's relationships.
Yeah.
Awesome. I feel like I'm getting some really good dating advice for whenever I got the courage to get back in there. But thanks for all that. Do you have any questions for us?
It's just nice sort of chatting and not having to ask the questions. I'll be honest, it's quite.
Well,
I had one though that was at the top of I can't remember who wrote this one down, but it was, what was the biggest difference that you've noticed from dating in your younger years to now in midlife? The biggest difference, it seems more serious now than it used to. In your 20s, it was, you just didn't think about it. It was just something you did. You sort of just got on with it, and you didn't analyse anything really other than the next weekend. That was as far as you thought. But I think that's probably why when you're in your 20s, you tend to sort of have these 2-year relationships that don't really, they just last 2 years, and you've got no idea how they last 2 years. It's just because neither one of you can be bothered to do anything because it's okay, you're in your 20s. But I think as you get older, there's more of a
sort of a grasp on time where you think, right, I haven't got 2 years to waste dating you, so I need to find out if this is going to work sort of very quickly, because in 2 years I'm going to be 2 years older. So I haven't got that time to.
How do you find out? How do you find it very quickly though, if someone's right for you? I
don't know. I don't think you always do. I think if both of you in this situation, you'll both know what you're looking for. And I think it's that thing of, you know what you don't want. So as soon as you see those things, you'll think, oh, that's not going to be for me. And that tends to happen where you don't, like I said, you don't know those things in your 20s. You might put up with a lot of things in your 20s that you just wouldn't put up with now at all.
Yeah, true.
And can we can always scrap this about going back to your relationship with Sharon?
Yeah, of course you can.
On the, realizing what was the reason? Can you say what the reason was? I don't want to pry too much. And I don't know if it was in the tabloids in terms of why you split. I know you obviously lived in very different parts of the country, so I imagine that played a factor.
I think with myself and Sharon, I think distance was obviously an issue, and that's always going to be a problem when you're quite a way away from each other. I think the other thing as well, it's a bit like when you're in the house, it's a bit like sort of holiday romances in your 20s, because you're taken away from every responsibility that you've got at home, all those external pressures, going to work, going out shopping, cooking dinner, because literally everything is done for you. So, you're getting fed and you're literally just there. So you're so relaxed when you're doing it. It makes it easy to meet people. And as soon as you come out of that environment, you're back into real life, and things then change. And then the extra pressures there's more stress on things then, because, other things happen, and then you react differently to what you would have done in the first place, because you haven't got to do anything in there. You haven't got to navigate anything at all. It's all done for you pretty much. And the dates, they're not dates either. So you don't actually start getting to know each other until you leave, because you're not with each other at all when you're in there. You're separated, you're kept apart, you're not allowed conversations. If I went to talk to Sharon, I'd be pulled away. So the boys will eat in one area, the girls will eat in another area. And so it's very clever the way it's done. And this is not a complaint at all, because I've always said, I think if you put yourself up for these things, you go into it and you accept what comes along. But the way even the dates, they last sort of 5-10 minutes, if that. They're not dates really. The best sort of dates that we actually had there was the one that you guys saw at the end. We went to the vineyard, but even then, it's like, stop there, right? Go over to there. We're doing that, and it was a great experience. But it wasn't a date. You're not on your own at all. There's no time that you're just left to get to know the nitty gritty about each other. And I think that happens afterwards. So, the same with Paul and Natalie, myself and Sharon. I think you just went through that stage that relationships go through anyway, and you either get through that or you don't. And, it just didn't work out for us because of that, because of those reasons. Yeah, I think when people watch those shows, that you think that it's an ongoing process the whole time, and you're just seeing snippets, but you're seeing the best bits of what happened. The other time, you're not even together. You're not allowed to talk. You've permanently got people around you, so you cannot talk about anything at all. And it's amazing the way that they do it, because everyone on the show is mic'd up like the whole time, and everyone of the staff is mic'd up. So everything. So if I was like with Paul, and I'd be behind me, like, started talking about something, there'd be someone over straight away going, guys, you can't talk about that. So it was just, it was bizarre. And there's a lot of mundane conversation that drives you nuts in the end. It's great in the beginning. There was always one of the guys, and the staff who worked on the show, they were lovely. But when we first started talking to him, he was like, what's your favourite sandwich? And it was great to begin, you know, like
What
10
is your
days.
favourite sandwich?
Everything goes in my sandwich. It's all about the bread. But like, you know, after 10 days of people still asking you, so what's your favourite sandwich? You say, I don't care. I hate sandwiches. I just don't like sandwiches. I just want to talk to someone and have a normal conversation about what's going on. And you can't.
Hope you enjoyed part 1, guys. Thanks again.
Of our podcast with 50 Shades and Grey and part 2 book club. Hope you enjoyed the first part. Don't forget to watch the second part and don't forget to subscribe and we'll see you soon.